I'm happy to welcome you to this today's class, where we want to take off the superstructure. Superstructure, as I've told you in the previous class, is simply a structure above the ground level, and the elements of superstructure include the walling, the beams, and the columns. Those are the things that we normally measure in the superstructure. So in any part of the measurement that you want to take off, the first thing is you have to tell the examiner what you are taking off. In an exam situation, you'll be given two diagrams. So you have to tell him which one are you using to take off. That's why you have to write diagram number. Then again, you have to tell him which type of structure are you taking off, because you can be given a plan to take off substructure, or you can be given to take off a roof, or it can be for the bridge. So you as an examiner, you as the examinee, you are supposed to tell examiner what you are talking about. After writing about what you want to talk about, then again, after telling him what the diagram you're using, you are required now to develop what is called a checklist. So a checklist will guide you on what you are supposed to measure. For example, the first checklist that you have to get to measure is the damp proof course. Say a damp proof course as the first item. Then our second item, we have to measure what is the walling. If you look at this diagram, is the plan you are given, you can see we have walls of 200 millimeters each. So you have to say 200 millimeters or natural stone walling. That's what you are supposed to measure. Then after measuring this one, let's assume that this our plan is of gable, as you have given the plan, or the structure is of a gable. So you have to say ditto to gable. When you say ditto, you just say this ditto simply means above. You are measuring the same what is above. So instead of writing 200 millimeters fixed on walling to gable, you say ditto to gable. The examiner will know what you are measuring again. Then we are supposed to talk about the columns, concrete to columns. After concrete to columns, you can say reinforcement to ditto. Then we can talk about formwork to ditto. Ditto means formwork to columns. Then we can talk about reinforcement. We can talk about concrete to beams. Then we say reinforcement to ditto. Then talk about formwork to ditto, and these are the things that we are only going to measure at this point. So those are the things we are required to measure at that point. Now if you go, now we're going to start by taking off. We have to determine the center line of the diagram. The center line of the plan simply means getting the perimeter of the figure we are given. So we say determination of center line. As I've said, it simply means the art of getting the perimeter of this figure. If you look at this figure, we have portions of 6,000 but there are 6 number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll have 5 slash 6,000, which will give us 30,000 millimeters. 30,000 millimeters. Then we have also walls of the thickness of 200. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we'll have 7 slash 200. That will give us 1400. 1400. Is that 1,000? 1400. Then if you add, you get 0.04131 millimeters, 31,000 millimeters. Then we deduct, say less 4 corners, less 2, 4, 2, less 4, because we have such 4 corners times, but with their 200 millimeters wall, giving us 800. Now say center line, total center line to give us 30,200 millimeters. So this is the length that we have to measure for the dampproof course. We have to use this for the 200 the walling. This is the 200 millimeters walling. Now let's start by the dampproof course. The dampproof course. According to standard methods of measurement, the dampproof course is being measured into square meter. And the way, how can we get the square meter of a dampproof course? The length, we take the length of the center line. So our length will be the center line. Then the width will be the thickness of the wall. Since this dampproof course where we lay this our walling, so it must be the same size as the walling, but for the normal circumstance you have to give allowance of 50 millimeters and allowance of 50 millimeters. So it should be somehow should be, for the normal circumstances, it should be larger than the walling material we are using. So assume you have given a 50 millimeter slab inside the wall and another 50 millimeter slab outside the wall. Then the width of our dampproof course will be 100 millimeters or larger than the normal wall. Now it will become 300 millimeters. So say apply dampproof course on the foundation slab, to receive walling materials, as approved. Rating, by rating as approved, it means you are telling the examiner the type of the dampproof course which is approved. We can use in most cases you find the contractors using a mortar on that layer, but sometimes they have a dampproof course that you normally use. Then we close this our entry. We have to close the entry. Then you close this our entry. That's our description. On the entry column, this is where you have to put the dimensions of this dampproof course. Then you say the length become 30,000, 30.20, because we always insert figures into meter. Then it becomes 0.3 meters. Then you close your entry. Then that entry is done. Then we have complete with that our entry. Then the second item that we have to measure, we go to 200 millimeters thick walling stone. 200 200 millimeters thick walling stone. According to standard methods of measurement, again, walling is being measured into square meter, where from the superficial floor methods, it means you have to open this wall, then so the length, we open all the wall, where we had already gotten it as the center line, so our length will be there, center line, which is 30,200 millimeters. Then the width will be the height of the wall. Then the height will be the height of the wall, that was 2,400 millimeters. Then when measuring the stone walling, it is required that we are supposed to tell the examiner which types of walling materials are you using. Are you going to use the concrete? Are you going to use the bricks? Are you going to use this, the machine dressed stones, or are you going to use the natural stone walling? So let's say, then again, another thing that we are supposed to tell the examiner is the thickness of the wall. Walls has different thickness. We can have a wall of 150 millimeters thick wall, where we can have a wall of 100, then we can have 300 millimeters thick wall, and we can have 200 millimeters thick wall. But to know the thickness of the wall, always look at the plan. Then the plan will tell you the thickness of the wall that you're supposed to take off. So for this one, we have 200 millimeters thick natural stone walling, complete with hook iron, in cement sand mortar. It means this our wall must be completed in cement sand mortar. Then on the entry column, we have to enter the length, which is 30.20. Then the length was 2.40. Then you close that you are in, and it's now complete. Then the third measurement item that we have to take off, let's talk about ditto to gable. When we talk about ditto to gable, you simply have to get the area of the figure. Then if you look at the figure, the length, the width, we have 8,000 millimeters, 8,000 as the width, 8,000 as the width. So we have a gable like this. This will be 8,000. Then we have that. So because this is our wall, we assume that it will rise at 30 degrees from the wall. There's the groove. Then we get tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So the adjacent is this one, opposite this one. So we say opposite is equals to tan 30 times 8,000. Tan 30 times 8,000. So from here, this will be height. For us to get area is equals to a half times base, which is 8,000, times the height, which is tan 30 times 8,000. You get the answer. Assume we have gotten our answer to be x. with X. So in the description say 200 millimeters thick natural stone walling complete with iron, in sand cement mortar. Then you say on the empty column we have X, then because there are 2 we multiply by 2. On the dimension column you have to multiply by 2. You take the X, then you close that by 2. The reason why I want to multiply by 2 is because we have such 2 figures. So from there we'll mark the end of this our first class. The next class we'll have to discuss about the columns and the beams, how to take off. Thank you.